Welcome to the third Inclusive Youth Leadership Training, CoLeadership. During this training, we will talk about how different people's backgrounds can affect the way they lead, learn how bias can impact how we lead with one another, gain a better understanding of the differences between equality, equity, and justice, and explore how to use person-to-person communication skills when leading with others. Throughout the training, questions will be posed to you. Feel free to pause the video at any point to reflect and take notes. This will be helpful for you as we continue on through the Inclusive Youth Leadership trainings. Now let's hear from some unified pairs about how they lead together.
Hi everyone, my name is Savannah Rock and I'm from Colorado, and this is my partner,
Brittany from Hawaii, and we are the Special Olympics U.S. Youth Ambassadors.
And we're here to talk to you all today about how we work well with each other.
The first way is we push each other to get things done.
We have virtual meetings as it's hard all the way from Colorado to Hawaii. So virtual meetings really help, and it's a time to catch up also.
Next, we make each other accountable.
And we prioritize our work with each other, and we listen and we support each other's ideas. And how important it is to work well with each other is because we can rely on each other.
We have another point of view.
We're constantly learning from each other.
We can also problem solve together when disagreements arise.
So work well with each other. Be those leaders that you want to be. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, Alex. Why do you think? Why is co-leadership important? Why do you think? What about our co-leadership? You want to start there? Talk about that.
We work together. You remind me of events, and I get to events early. So, like, if they need help, I could help them out.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point. That we both have our own strengths, and then we kind of work on those. And my organization and your earliness kind of balance out, and those are just a couple ways, but. That's a cool way. And just generally, why do you think co-leadership is an important thing to have in your club, in your school, in your community?
We could we can work together, and
Like the collaboration, yeah.
We have the best friendships.
Yeah, I mean, good friends. I mean, that makes sense. I'd kind of echo that, but also add, when you have someone else who's also a leader who shares the same mission and is doing the same things that you're doing, you guys are both holding each other accountable, and you're sharing that goal, so that at the same time you can look back and one of you can check the other one and say, we're doing a great job with this. We should take a second and appreciate it. And at the same time, they're both pushing each other to do better and do more things. And you get that maybe safety net of having someone else who's there and ready to help you out. So I think that's a good way to think about it. What about do you have a favorite time that we were like really good co-leaders? Do you have like a time that we did that?
Where the big building in DC, I forgot the name of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the DC where we were, and why do you remember that as a good time that we were leading together?
We talked on the podium with all the people. I forgot the name of it.
We did that. That was really cool at the youth summit. And that worked well because we made sure that we both had things to add to the conversation, and we were kind of playing off each other and making sure the total message was greater than what either one of us could do ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The important part is that we help bring out the best qualities and the strengths that we have, and also focus on making sure that the weaknesses don't come through. So I think having that extra person really allows for you to kind of build out your leadership style and build out that structure so that you have a little bit more security and you don't make as many mistakes. You have a big project, a big celebration, a big presentation. So I think that's really how we as co-leaders, value it. And I think we do a pretty good job. Don't you think, Alex?
Yep.
All right.
Liam, how would you say that, what do we do together that makes our unified partnership so successful?
Well, our partnership in the unified generation has been very respected because we interact with each other, whether it's in person or on social media or online, which obviously it's online right now because of the COVID-19 virus that's been spreading around the world. So, but anyway, but our partnership has been the way it has, where we sometimes meet up for food. We sometimes talk at night, and sometimes we do a lot of other activities together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're supportive of each other. We take time to always stay connected, even when we're apart, right?
Not be selfish towards one another, correct?
Yeah, we do equal work. We work together to make a difference and to spread the word. What else have we done over the past few months together that has really made us so successful as a unified pair? Like, should we share our stories out?
We made our stories. We helped put the Inclusion Tiles game together.
Yeah.
And the Inclusion Tiles manual together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a student guide. That's a good point. We worked together to create a student guide that other students will be able to use. So what is like the best part of being like co-leaders together? Like, how is it beneficial to be co-leaders other than just one of us being the leader?
Well, we are pretty much, we pretty much take turns speaking, and we share our stories, and we also experience what other youth ambassador pairs go through, and they get to experience what we go through. And so that leads to the success of co-leadership.
Yeah. Maybe something about how when we co-lead together, there are more ideas. We can work our ideas together to create an even bigger and better idea.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we have a lot of ideas when we're able to work together. And in that way, we're super successful too, because you have two people rather than just one.
Co-leadership is just staying unified. Being unified.
Yeah, it's never only one of us leading. It's always both of us leading. Because we're able to make a bigger impact that way.
A team.
Yeah, we're a team. What else about co-leadership do you want to share out? How else has it made us so successful as a unified pair?
That is, we set up fundraisers for people to join, and we set up more, encouraging people to try these unified things, because it's not only fun for us, but it's fun for them too.
Yeah.
It's fun for everyone.
We want to try to make a larger impact, so we got to work together to do that.
Yes, there's already a big impact, but there could be there's still room for improvement. Well, a bigger improvement. We can continue climbing up the wall of inclusion.
There's always room for growth.
In order to be a strong, inclusive youth leader, it is important to understand the concepts of equality, equity, and justice. These concepts were introduced in the first training, but now we will take a deeper look. Having an understanding of these will not only help you lead in partnership with other individuals, but also be critical to supporting the unified movement and building a more inclusive world for all people. In a moment, we will take a look at each of these words and start to understand the differences in their meanings and the role they play in inclusive youth leadership. But first, let's watch a short video.
I was born blind. I didn't talk to the age of 4. I was held back the first 3 years of my life. And what happens when you get held back 3 years? You become the one to pick on. You thought about that next day ahead of time. How am I going to get through that jungle? What path am I going to take? And I shouldn't have to think about that at the age of 13. But that was a sign at the time that people with intellectual disability weren't included. I wanted to be an athlete. We didn't have unified sports. Like I said, we were the backdrop of the school. You never saw us. The Special Olympics coming in with unified sports, play unified, live unified. A lot of the schools are changing that. And a lot of our students with intellectual disability are now on the real track team and cross-country teams. Special Olympics says you can come and you can be a part of our team.
As you heard in the video, Loretta experienced inequality, inequity, and injustice in her life. These are things that Unified Champion schools and the Unified Generation are fighting against. Let's take a closer look at each of these concepts. As we go through, please remember to pause the video when you need to reflect or take notes. Equality is a word you are most likely familiar with. It means that everyone is treated equally or the same. This means that everyone gets the same amount of support as everyone else. Look at the image. This is an image you have seen before during an earlier training. You can see that on the left, everyone has the same size box to help them see over the fence. This is treating everyone equally. While each person has an equal amount of help seeing over the fence, not everyone can see equally as well. During the first training, we went over the definition of equity. Let's take a moment to review it again here. Equity is when everyone has equal opportunity to be a part of something. However, unlike equality, it means that each person is given a different amount of support based on what they need to be as involved as their peers. In the image, you will see that on the right, each person has something different to help them see over the fence, depending on their needs. To understand justice, we will also be looking at the image on the slide. Did you notice that in the picture, the only reason some people need to be on a box or a ramp to see over the fence is because there is a fence at all? If the fence did not exist, there would be no need for the boxes or ramps. When we remove the fences that keep people from being a part of something, it is called justice. Understanding the differences between equality, equity, and justice is very important to inclusive youth leadership. It helps us see and remove fences that limit opportunity and inclusion for our peers. Now let's watch a short video of a youth leader describing a time she brought justice to her school.
It was my 12th grade year of high school. I witnessed something that broke my heart, and it was my friends not being accepted during lunchtime. I walked in the cafeteria, and I saw them sitting in the corner, and I pulled one of my friends aside, and I said, "Do they sit there every day by themselves with no one to hang out with?" And my friend replied, "Yes." And I asked why. And my friend said, "Because no one wants to hang out with students with intellectual disabilities. They think it's not cool." And I knew I had to do something about it, because I know how it feels not to be accepted, not to be included, not to have friends at lunch. I felt that my elementary year, and it really did hurt. So I decided to create lunch buddies so that students with and without intellectual disabilities can come together at lunchtime to hang out, to meet new people, and to become friends with students with ID. And I thought that was a great opportunity for general ed students to see how important students and young adults want to feel at lunchtime.
Now that you have a better understanding of equality, equity, and justice, it's time to learn about bias. A bias is a prejudice or a feeling toward or against something or someone, either in a positive or a negative way. Biases can be present without you even knowing that you have them and are formed based on your experiences. For this training, we will look mostly at how negative bias can be harmful in leadership, as it could cause a leader to treat a teammate or someone they interact with differently because of disability, race, gender, or other parts of that person's background. We will also talk about how to overcome those negative biases, because as inclusive youth leaders, you know that everyone comes from a different background, and that is not only okay, but even helpful on a team. The concept of bias is complex, and it can be seen in many forms. Some of these are social bias, knowledge bias, and groupthink. The main type of bias we will talk about here is social bias. This is the kind of bias that affects relationships and interactions with others. It is a preference for people who are like us. This can mean preference for people who are like us in personality, like us in ability level, like us in race, and so on. As you might be able to guess, this can lead to negative outcomes. An example of a real-life negative bias in action could be not offering a leadership opportunity to someone with a different ability level because you think that they are not capable of that responsibility. If this were to happen, would it be fair? No, of course not. This is one of the ways that biases can be harmful. Another way that biases can be harmful to our leadership and our team is that they can make us less inclusive leaders by causing us to not respect or meaningfully engage our teammates. Biases tend to prevent some of our teammates from being given the opportunity to shine. When not all team members are respected and valued, we are unable to achieve our common goal. Please also note, biases impact work beyond co-leadership, and it is important to consider the impact with other teams. Injustices like this are something that Unified Champion Schools and the Unified Generation are fighting hard to correct. And that is why you are here. As inclusive youth leaders, you are the voices of inclusion and justice. Now, are people always aware of their biases? Unfortunately, no. While we may be aware of some biases that we may have others without even realizing it. These are called implicit biases. It is very important to always reflect on your thoughts and reactions to other people to make sure you are not acting on implicit bias. Biases that we do know about are called explicit biases. Both implicit and explicit biases can cause us to treat others poorly. How can biases impact how we live out inclusive youth leadership values of respect, equity, involvement, and inclusion? Well, biases can cause us to act in ways that are not at all in line with these values. They can make us treat others in ways that are not respectful or inclusive. To live out inclusive youth leadership values, we must work hard to be aware of our biases. Once we are aware of our biases, we must work to overcome them. Let's talk about ways to overcome bias. As an inclusive youth leader, there are some questions that you should always have in the back of your mind as you strive to be the best leader you can be. Some of these that you should think about are, am I treating all of my teammates fairly? What can I do to make everyone feel more included? Is this person's role on the team allowing them to learn and grow? And have I given this person something easy because I assume they cannot do something more? In addition to keeping these questions in mind, there are some specific things that inclusive youth leaders can do to help in overcoming bias. You can learn about the biases you might have by asking your peers or others for feedback. You can also make sure you are identifying the strengths and abilities of your peers and sharing responsibilities based on those strengths. Additionally, you can make an effort to learn about the different experiences, thoughts, and backgrounds of your peers and ask how you can be more supportive of your peers and teammates of different races, genders, or abilities. Take a look at the graphic on the screen. Feel free to pause the video right now and take any notes that you might need to think about overcoming bias. Now that we have taken a closer look at equality, equity, and justice, as well as how bias can affect these, we will now look at key concepts related to communication that are important to the success of co-leadership. Person-to-person communication skills are critical to your success as a leader and will help you work better with your peers and teammates toward a shared goal. Let's take a look at these skills. The first step in building a strong partnership with your co-leader is to have shared goals and expectations. For example, if your goal was to win every game, but your co-leader's goal was to make friends with other teams, you might have difficulty working together. Along with shared goals, It is also just as important to set expectations. Expectations are what we feel someone needs to do to be a good teammate. It is best to be very clear and honest with your co-leader about your expectations of them, and have them be clear and honest with you too. If you expect your co-leader to be on time, but you don't communicate that to them, it would be unfair to be upset with them for not meeting an expectation they did not know about. Another key skill of person-to-person communication is learning to respect differences. In your life, you will co-lead with many people you may not always agree with. You will partner with people who are different from you in their leadership styles, thoughts, and goals. This might make your work more challenging. But it is important to learn how you can overcome those challenges and learn from each other. You can do this through shared respect and finding things you have in common. But remember, negative behavior like hateful language or purposeful exclusion is not a difference and should not be allowed. If your co-leader is engaging in negative behavior, you should feel empowered to ask them to correct this behavior. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, you can always contact a mentor or an adult ally about the issue. Feedback is information shared by those around us to help us grow and improve as leaders. As we have learned, inclusive youth leadership is a journey. Nobody will be perfect because we are always learning and growing. Part of being able to grow comes from receiving helpful feedback from our peers, mentors, and other leaders. We can use feedback to help us strengthen our leadership. In addition to being able to receive feedback and embrace it instead of getting upset or angry, it is equally important to know how to share your feedback with your co-leaders in a way that is polite and helpful. When sharing feedback, think about how you might want someone to share that feedback with you. Along with person-to-person communication skills, it is also important to always empower your co-leaders. You can support your co-leader by empowering them to take on responsibilities and lead the charge on parts of the project. By sharing work based on your strengths, you will both achieve your goals. As a reminder, asking a co-leader to do a task that you think is too easy for you, based on your beliefs about their abilities, is never okay. In co-leadership, both leaders should be doing work that challenges them to learn new things and allows them to shine.
Hi, I'm Maggie McNellis and I'm the U.S. Youth Ambassador from Illinois. Ways I encourage my community and my peers is always making sure they feel confident in them and their ideas. I am always one to encourage people to step out their comfort zone and come up with ideas that seem out the box, because those tend to be like the best ones, and it brings people together and making them feel confident in themselves to come up with even better and more out the box things to do, and I love it so much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brittany Bautista and I'm from Hawaii. And this is my partner,
Savannah, and I'm from Colorado, and we are the U.S. Youth Ambassadors.
We are here to talk about how we encourage our teammates, classmates, and friends.
We explain the benefits about becoming part of the unified generation. There's so many.
We motivate people to be the very best they can be.
We foster a mentorship.
Lastly, we always try to have a positive attitude and outlook on certain things. Thank you for listening to our video. Be the change.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Young and I am a Special Olympics U.S. Youth Ambassador. As a leader, I have found many different ways to support and empower my fellow leaders. One of the most important ways for me is to just ask questions and find out more about what they're interested in and what they're doing and who they are as a person. After asking questions, it's really important to just listen to what they're saying and gain a deeper understanding. After listening, the ability to collaborate is much easier, and using my strengths to work alongside their strengths and help them figure out what they want to do. And then after that, I think it's really important to provide words of support and encouragement and just help them continue doing what they're doing, and so that they don't feel like they have nobody supporting them. And then once they complete their task, or even throughout the task, to just provide some gratitude and tell them, you're doing a great job, or that was really awesome. And just provide them that continued support to continue being a leader and feel like they have that support behind them to keep going.
I remember a time when I was empowering one of my classmates to become an athlete leader because he was really good at inspiring others and motivating others to do their best in everything that they did. He was just so wonderful. And I was like, you have to become an athlete leader. And he was like, no, I don't think I'm good at that. And then I gave him some encouraging words to become one. And now today he is an athlete leader and he motivates me also. I'm just so proud of him.
This concludes the third Inclusive Youth Leadership Training. Here are some of the key takeaways from this training. Co-leadership is a one-to-one form of leadership in which two individuals work to lead together. Co-leading with people of all ages, genders, abilities, races, and backgrounds helps us to grow and improve as leaders. Respecting and understanding how others view the world is important to building a more inclusive world. We must understand how our own worldview may impact how we lead with others. Lastly, equality, equity, and justice mean different things, but each of them lead to a path of inclusion for all. Congratulations on completing the third Inclusive Youth Leadership Training. It is now time to complete your exit ticket. This can be submitted through the link found below the video. Using the link, send us your answers to the following question. What are some examples of fences or barriers we can remove to help us achieve justice? Remember, you can always go back in the video if you need a reminder.